everyone, thanks for hanging out with me, Nikki B. We are setting up our story up. Um, Sorry, I'm quiet. Not like it's very hard, but oh goodness. neighbor, they like, I don't know, go so fucking slow. My door down the stairs, like they're creeping to open a present or something on Christmas. It's just ridiculous. Beyond nosy. But you're gonna have ding dong. I'm playing my fucking answer. think since pumpkins are only two in a thing, I might those three baskets on the other side. That'll give 12 out at one time. Ah, that's what I was talking. Kidding me. I just was there. I, you guys need to run. Get some extra. It's so hard to get open another license because then they start grabbing the boxes. Ooh, how are we going to be able to see? Well, I guess we'll know who was down here. Ha ha ha. I have had the game for when I was playing like, of course, it's still early access, but um, either way, I lost my train. To be able to carry at least two back. They'll eventually it's thrown over there. only two shelf things and one, two, three, and four refrigerators. Mm-hmm. Let's make sure. Oh, that's popping. Up. Take it. Popping. Oxy. shelves. Just seems like I should be single. This. All right. This has breakfast. Oh, I gotta have it. Oh, I, oh, don't want to wipe. those shelves to go away permanently, you need to save. Like right now, I don't want to. If I go and buy that same size shelf, it will be full of those books. So I hit save, and now they're deleted. So I would get an empty shelf. Took me a while to figure that one out. Oh, you rotten. Oh. This fucker. As I can, it must be. Oh. Oh my gosh. I just can't do it fast enough. Ooh. It's gotta be grab it and close it. What a pain. Okay, I thought they were stock. Now they're not stocking. So let's see. Next one would. Hold on. Go through. So, need. Copy. Did you? The hell? Okay.
Officials, potentially judges, they have finally been stopped, at least for the moment, from doing something that I think, if they were able to do this, might reasonably result in a lot of people actually fleeing this country in very short order. So they have been held up on that by federal court in Washington. But I said there were two things that have happened on this case. Here's the other thing. I mentioned that there was a big sort of splashy resignation when this all came into the public eye. That prosecutor, the head of the criminal division, the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C., career prosecutor, very well respected, not at all a partisan, right? Not somebody who they had it out for, who was seen as like some, one of Trump's targets. Not a person like that at all. She resigned rather than play a part in this. She resigned rather than, frankly, gin up a criminal prosecution where she said there was no evidence of any crime. When she resigned and explained in a letter what had happened, we, the public, got to see what was happening. Wow, scary. But the other thing that happened is then her job became vacant, and they replaced her in that job. There is a new person who is now the head of the criminal division at the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. And now we know what the new person who they put in that job has been doing. And surprise, he is apparently doing exactly the kind of thing his predecessor refused to do and resigned over. So we've been covering the story of this little agency, a nonprofit created by Congress during the Reagan era. It's called the U.S. Institute of Peace. They're a small agency. They operate independent of the U.S. government. Their building is not a U.S. government building. They own it and operate it themselves. U.S. Institute of Peace, if you care, their basic remit is to try to stop conflicts around the world from metastasizing into wars. Non-controversial, non-big agency in Washington. Again, essentially an independent nonprofit created by Congress, but they are their own thing. They're outside the U.S. government. On Friday, Trump and his top campaign donor, Elon Musk, sent Musk's people over to the U.S. Institute of Peace, USIP, to go try to shut them down. And the people at USIP refused to let them in. And this is somehow that went down. This is from the Washington Post, something we've been covering for the last few days. Friday, DOJ agents showed up at the USIP door with two others who said they were FBI agents, but did not further identify themselves. Noting that the building was not the property of the U.S. government, but owned by USIP, a registered nonprofit, and that its personnel were not federal employees, the Institute's officials asked if DOJ had a court order for admission. The DOJ agents acknowledged that they did not have a court order, and on Friday, they withdrew. Then this weekend, Sunday night, the longtime outside legal counsel for the Institute received a call from the head of the criminal division at the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office, newly appointed Jonathan Hornock. Hornock said his office was investigating suspicions of criminality at USIP. Suspicions of criminality? What? Hornock said Trump's newly appointed supposed directors of the Institute, including Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth, would like to inspect the books and records of the Institute. Hornock said anyone who obstructs our efforts is subject to criminal investigation, according to one person familiar with the call. And again, no, in case you're wondering, no, this is not how prosecutors' offices are supposed to work, and this is not how prosecutors are supposed to talk. This is not the kind of work that prosecutors are supposed to do or ever do. Not in this country. But they used force of arms to get what they want. Threatened criminal prosecution and ultimately guns. According to the Washington Post, a private security company that works at that building was called by DOJ and told that they would lose all of their federal contracts as a company if they did not help DOJ personnel break into this building. Under that threat, these contractors then did help DOJ force their way into the building. They forced their way in and then immediately went to the gun safe inside the building to get weapons. The Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police were also enlisted to help force DOJ into the building, including, reportedly, picking the lock on the office's internal door. Now, the D.C. police, why were they there? They have now said in a statement that the reason they did what they did was, surprise, because they were directed to by Ed Martin. They said they got a call from Ed Martin at the Washington, D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office telling them to do it, and so they did it. So this is this bananas federal prosecutor's office in Washington, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, threatening federal criminal prosecution against private entities who don't do what DOJ wants them to do. DOJ has no authority over private entities. But DOJ said they wanted in there, they wanted to break into that building, and they wanted to get access to everything in that building. So the federal prosecutor's office threatened criminal suspicion, criminal investigation, and criminal prosecution of that private entity for saying no. What did that letter say again? Dear Elon, after your referral, as is my practice, I will begin an inquiry. They are apparently using this part of the U.S. Justice Department as a private police force for the president's top campaign donor. When he is on private property going after a private entity. They are threatening federal criminal investigation and prosecution if you don't comply. And they're threatening to revoke contracts, revoke federal contracts of private armed security if private armed security doesn't join in the armed takeover of these private entities.
Wow.
And again, you may not care about the ins and outs of the U.S. Institute of Peace. You may not care about that one Citibank bank account, right? But what they are doing here is not about the outcomes they are seeking. What they are doing here is all about the power they are trying to exert. They are showing you what they think they have the power to do to you. In court today, the U.S. Institute of Peace was unable to get a restraining order to try to stop the efforts to shut down their nonprofit, their organization. But the judge hearing the case today in Washington expressed astonishment at what has just happened here, saying, quote, this conduct of using law enforcement, threatening criminal investigation, using armed law enforcement from 3 different agencies, probably terrorizing the employees and staff at the Institute, when there are so many lawful ways to accomplish the goals, why? The judge said, quote, why those ways here? The judge just exclaimed in court today, quote, that's a lot of law enforcement at a charitable institution's building. The judge questioned explicitly whether there was a way to accomplish the Trump administration's goals through legal procedures and through Congress, quote, without using the force of guns and threats by DOJ against American citizens. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on right now. I recognize this is a fast-moving news environment. USA Today is reporting this evening that Trump's going to issue an executive order tomorrow to shut down the U.S. Department of Education, something that roughly 2/3 of the American public is opposed to. Trump's Attorney General, Pam Bondi, went on TV tonight and threatened 3 different federal judges by name. Another federal judge today blocked the Trump administration's efforts to force trans women into men's federal prisons. Another federal judge blocked them from unilaterally killing off money that Congress had appropriated for teacher training. In the insane case where Trump took 3 plane loads of people and shipped them to El Salvador with 0 processing at all, just grabbed them off the street, forced them onto a plane, and shipped them to a prison in another country without any hearing or legal determination at all. Now the Trump administration has been forced to admit that, quote, many of the people they did that to had no criminal record whatsoever. But nevertheless, they're in prison now, indefinitely in a foreign country, and we're not even allowed to know their names. We're not even allowed to know if any of them are, I don't know, U.S. citizens? There's a lot going on, and a lot of it is very hard fought and full of drama. But as much as we are watching all of those stories, those kinds of stories every day, we are also trying to keep our eyes on the sort of shadow stories in the boring corners. Because for now, that is where they are trying to seize truly breathtaking authoritarian power. Not in the future, but right now. And the courts, for now, are kind of, sort of, barely stopping it. For now. I'll stay on it.
I told you I don't need these anymore. I have Sling. This critical time calls for the critical news coverage that Sling provides.
Okay, see you tomorrow.
The most important news at the best price. Sling lets you do that.
Our Consumer Reports recommended Treasure mattress is handcrafted right here in the States using quality materials, and we buy in bulk to pass on the savings, sealing the deal with the Bob look.
The what?
Oh, my Bob! Someone stole my Social Security number and filed a tax return in my name, and I'm a CPA.
Your tax forms have all the personal information a criminal needs to steal your identity. And in 2024, the IRS flagged nearly 2 million tax returns for possible identity fraud. LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats others could miss. And if your identity is stolen, a U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it, guaranteed. Enroll now.
To remind you that 60% of sales on Amazon come from independent sellers, Tracy from Lily's of Charleston will watch 60 contestants eat 60 hot wings, all covered in Lily's hot sauce.
Ooh, honey, don't touch your face.
To remind you that 60% of sales on Amazon come from independent sellers, Farmer Bob and his Princeton popcorn will be in this ad 60% of the time. Great job, Bob.
Hi, I'm Tony Hawk, and like many of you, I take a statin to reduce cholesterol. But statins can also deplete CoQ10 levels. That's why my doctor recommended Qunol CoQ10. Qunol has the #1 cardiologist-recommended form of CoQ10. Qunol, the brand I trust.
Dry eyes still feel gritty, rough, or tired? With MyBo, eyes can feel MyBo. MyBo is the only prescription dry eye drop that forms a protective layer for the #1 cause of dry eye, too much tear evaporation. For relief, that's MyBo. Oh, yeah. Remove contact lenses before using MyBo. Wait at least 30 minutes before putting them back in. Eye redness and blurred vision may occur. MyBo. Oh, yeah. Ask your eye doctor about prescription MyBo.
Take a pea-sized amount. Apply it like a lotion. Pits, under boob, thigh folds, butt cracks, feet. This water-based cream, I'm telling you, it's invisible on the skin. It works like a dream. Why didn't someone think of this sooner?
You've got a subscription for streaming movies and music, maybe even one for food.
But what about when it's your water line that's streaming? Repairs are expensive. Good contractors, hard to find. The plan from HomeServe is like a subscription for peace of mind. For one small monthly fee, when a covered system breaks, we'll send a qualified contractor and pay for the repair. Why worry? Get HomeServe and chill.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month.
Call 1-833-735-4495 or visit homeserve.com.
Men, how many bathroom trips are you making each day? Try Super Beta Prostate Advanced, the #1 selling formula in its category. Made with Prostafend, a triple action blend to help reduce urges to urinate. Find it at Walmart or these retailers.
Western intelligence agencies believe Russia is behind 2 recent attempts to smuggle explosives onto cargo planes and may be targeting planes bound for the U.S. Tom Costello is with us. Tom, this is quite concerning. What have you learned?
It really is. The explosives went off in DHL cargo hubs in Germany and Britain. Had a bomb exploded while the plane was in the air, the head of German domestic intelligence says the plane would likely have crashed. A Western security official tells NBC News it could be a Russian operation to undermine support for Ukraine, and cargo flights to the U.S. and Canada could be targeted.
Wow. Last summer, explosions at DHL cargo hubs They were not accidents. They were not isolated incidents. They were part of what European and American officials described as an expanding campaign of Russian sabotage, including arson in the UK and the Czech Republic, attacks on pipelines and data cables in the Baltic, and tampering with water supplies in Sweden and Finland. Earlier last year, the U.S. also helped Germany interrupt an alleged Russian plot to assassinate an executive at a German arms manufacturer that supplies arms to the Ukrainian military. But those cargo bombs on those DHL planes, even with all that other stuff, when the DHL planes started having bombs on board, U.S. intelligence officials said they were a Russian test run to figure out how those devices could get aboard planes bound for the U.S. And as such, that was a frightening new escalation for American officials. The idea that that sabotage campaign could be coming here. Months later, the New York Times reported that White House officials became, quote, increasingly alarmed by secretly obtained intelligence suggesting Moscow had a far larger plan in mind to bring the war in Ukraine to American shores. President Biden dispatched his national security advisor and the CIA director to send a series of warnings to Putin's top aides. The core of the warning was that if the sabotage campaign led by Russia created mass casualties in the air or on the ground, the U.S. would hold Russia responsible. They didn't specify what that response would be, but they made it clear they would take the shadow war between Washington and Moscow to new levels. So that was last year. A new in-depth study of Russia's sabotage campaign finds that the number of Russian sabotage attacks in Europe nearly tripled between 2023 and last year, after quadrupling the year before that. Reporting on that, here's how the New York Times put it, quote, anger at Russia's sabotage efforts has the potential to influence European reactions to the U.S.-led push for an end to the war in Ukraine. Prime Minister Donald Tusk of Poland noted in a social media post on Monday that Lithuanian officials had confirmed his assessment that Russia was responsible for a series of fires in shopping centers in Warsaw and Vilnius. Mr. Tusk wrote, quote, good to know before negotiations. Such is the nature of this state. The message to countries supporting Ukraine has been that Russia can impose costs and increase them. So we had this very big scare last year with not just this sabotage campaign rapidly escalating in Europe, but it appearing to start to target the United States. Yesterday, we get data that Russian sabotage attacks in Europe quadrupled one year and then tripled the year after that. Well, now today we get this from Reuters. U.S. suspends some efforts to counter Russian sabotage as Trump moves closer to Putin. Quote, several U.S. national security agencies have halted work on a coordinated effort to counter Russian sabotage, disinformation, and cyber attacks, easing pressure on Moscow as the Trump administration pushes Russia to end its war in Ukraine. The effort involved at least 7 national security agencies working with European allies to disrupt plots targeting Europe and the United States. Since Trump took office, much of the work has come to a standstill. Reuters cites 11 current and former officials here. I'll tell you what Reuters, that Reuters did ask the Kremlin what they think about this reporting. Quote, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the Trump administration was trying to get rid of everything ineffective, corrupt, and implausible. Something he said was, quote, understandable. Joining us now is one of the reporters on that story, Reuters national security correspondent Erin Banco. Ms. Banco, thanks very much for being here and for getting this scoop. I appreciate the chance to talk with you about it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Is the United States pulling back from anti-Russian sabotage efforts because they don't believe they're happening, or because they believe that the efforts are ineffective? What's the rationale on the U.S. side for cutting back on these efforts?
I would say it's very clear from officials we've spoken to, both in this administration and in the prior administration, that our intelligence, U.S. intelligence, European intelligence, still shows that Russia poses a threat both to the U.S. and to Europe. In regard to its hybrid warfare campaign or its sabotage campaign. That threat has not gone away. We've spoken to several very senior intelligence officials about this fact. This intelligence has been circulated as recently as last week here in the US and in Europe. But it's very clear from the conversations we've had over the last month or two that this administration does not view the countering of Russia's hybrid warfare campaign as a priority. This was a very high priority for the prior administration, a program they stood up in 2024 to, across the interagency, track, combat this campaign both in Europe and potentially in the US. And a huge part of that was coordinating with Europe. So that included everything from sharing intelligence to drawing up strategies for trying to counter Russia's campaign. So it was a massive priority for the Biden administration, and something Biden officials briefed Trump officials on right before they left, urging them to continue this program.
The sabotage that Russia has been accused of, their efforts, mostly have been documented in Europe. There is this very worrying case on the record in terms of them targeting parcel bombs that were on planes, potentially to be bound for the United States. What do you understand about the balance of, the balance of how much heavy lifting was being done in this effort by European nations versus by the U.S.? Presumably the Europeans are going to still be trying to counter this stuff because they've been bearing more of the brunt of it. With the U.S. withdrawing, how much harder is their work going to be?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Local law enforcement in many of these countries are leading the way in terms of investigations looking at some of these sabotage acts. But I should note it's not just sabotage acts. It's not just arson attacks we're talking about here. We're talking about everything from arson to influence campaigns and political elections to cyber intrusions. And a huge part of what the U.S. did under Biden was shared critical intelligence on not only the unfolding sabotage plots, but on what was going on in the cyberspace as well. And so what happens when the U.S. pulls back or deprioritizes something like this is that the coordination in terms of intelligence sharing then gets lost. I should note that there's no evidence that sort of the systematic intelligence that gets shared from the U.S. and Europe has ceased, but there was this coordinated effort by the White House in particular, the National Security Council, the FBI, DHS, where a lot of those conversations were happening. That is no longer. And so when the U.S. pulls back from something like that, you lose a lot of not only the coordination, but the intelligence as well.
Reuters national security correspondent Aaron Banco, thank you very much for this time. I know this is very difficult reporting in this sector of government operations. It's really valuable. Thank you for helping us understand it.
Thanks for having me.
But the Trump administration on day one with Pam Bondi at the Justice Department, they announced they're no longer enforcing the rules against foreign agents. They no longer are going to enforce efforts by Russians to evade sanctions. They announced at the Defense Department that they're standing down cyber command operations against Russia. And now we have this reporting from Reuters that they're no longer going to try to counter Russian sabotage efforts that have included assassination attempts and arson and package bombs targeting the United States originating in Europe. It's all pointing in one direction, right? All right, much more to come tonight. Stay with us.
Hi. Hi. Chocolate fundraiser.
With the Chase mobile app, things move a little more smoothly. Deposit checks easily and send money quickly. That's convenience from Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Here you go.
Is there any way to get a better price on this?
Have you checked Single Care? Whenever my customers ask how to get a better price on their meds, I tell them about Single Care. It's a free app accepted at pharmacies nationwide.
Before I pick up my prescription, I always check the Single Care price.
It's quick, easy, and totally free to use.
Single Care can literally beat my insurance copay.
You just search for your prescription and show your Single Care coupon at the pharmacy.
So I just show the coupon and get this price?
That's right. Go to singlecare.com and start saving today.
Asthma. Does it have you missing out on what you love with who you love?
Get back to better breathing with Fasenra, an add-on treatment for eosinophilic asthma taken once every 8 weeks. Fasenra is not for sudden breathing problems. Serious allergic reactions may occur. Get help for swelling of your face, mouth, tongue, or trouble breathing. Don't stop your asthma treatments without talking with your doctor. Tell your doctor if your asthma worsens or you have a parasitic infection. Headache and sore throat may occur. Ask your doctor if Fasenra is right for you.
Here's Chris Cunahan with the Leaf Filter Gutter Report.
From blizzards to downpours to windstorms or heat waves, no matter where you live, Leaf Filter keeps your gutters clog-free year-round. Schedule your free inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
I know your MV mattress has luxurious hand tufting with gel-infused memory foam.
And it costs hundreds less than other national brands with a 20-year warranty.
What? That's 10 years more than theirs.
You've really done your research.
Oh, my mom. Look out, 'cause here I
Have you always had trouble with your weight? Me too.
Discover the power of Wegovy.
With Wegovy, I lost 35 pounds.
Well, at least
some
it's not
lost
quiet
over
and
46
boring.
pounds.
And I'm keeping the weight off.
I'm reducing my risk.
Wegovy is the only weight management medicine proven to reduce risk of major cardiovascular events such as death, heart attack, or stroke in adults with known heart disease and obesity.
Don't use Wegovy with semaglutide or GLP-1 medicines or in children under 12. Don't take if you or your family had MTC, MEN2, or if allergic to it. Tell your provider if you plan to have surgery or a procedure, are breastfeeding, pregnant, or plan to be. Stop taking and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or any of these allergic reactions. Serious side effects may include pancreas inflammation and gallbladder or severe stomach problems. Call your prescriber if you have any of these symptoms. Wegovy may cause low blood sugar in people with diabetes, especially if you take medicines to treat diabetes. Call your prescriber about vision changes, if you feel your heart racing while at rest, or if you have mental changes. Depression or thoughts of suicide may occur. Common side effects include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, stomach pain, flu or upset, headache, feeling tired, dizzy or bloated, gas, and heartburn.
Why would I
Some
wanna
side effects
take
lead to
that?
dehydration, which may cause kidney problems.
With Wegovy,
I'm losing weight,
I'm keeping it off.
and I'm lowering my CV risk.
Ask your prescriber about Wegovy.
It's party time! I'm talking about Jackpot Party, the leading free-to-play mobile slots game that always gives you more. More Vegas action, more casino favorites, the latest slots, and more ways to win. With Jackpot Party, you earn daily bonuses just for playing. Yes! What are you waiting for? Download Jackpot Party for free and get a 45 million coin bonus. Jackpot Party,
Let's see
a
if
party
it's
in every spin.
showing for them to finish.
I got this $1,000 camera for only $41 on Deal Dash.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20.
I got this KitchenAid stand mixer for only $56. I got this barbecue smoker for $26.
And shipping is always free.
Go to DealDash.com right now and see how much you can save.
A town hall is not a performative event. It's an expression of the people's right to petition their government. It's also about free speech, to be able to stand up and speak of what you're doing. And there's nothing conservative about an unelected South African Nepo baby firing people at the VA.
Tim Walz, the Democratic governor of Minnesota, the Democratic Party's vice presidential nominee in this past election, speaking in Iowa this past Friday night. Like a number of Democrats this year, Governor Tim Walz has been showing up for town halls in Republican districts, in districts where the Republican member of Congress hasn't been willing to do it. So Friday night, that meant Tim Walz showing up in an Iowa district that includes Des Moines, where Republican Congressman Zach Nunn has yet to commit to doing an in-person town hall with his constituents. Tim Walz is not the only one putting the pressure on Congressman Nunn. Have a look at this ad. This is a new ad that I think is really, really effective from the political group Vote Vets, and they are running it in Zach Nunn's Iowa district. Watch.
I was at Barnes & Noble's with my 2 children, 4 and 10, and my husband, and I received a text from my coworker, and he said, "Have you seen the email?"
I served in the military for over 33 years, just accepted a new position in the VA,
come into the office, fire up my computer, and I come back, and there's an email sitting there for me.
I knew then. I knew what was coming.
I have not had a single negative performance review in my 10 years.
It feels like veterans are being personally attacked by Elon Musk.
I did not put my life on the line for some tech bro billionaire from South Africa to come in here and try to destroy our country.
We're gonna bear a lot of this cost with rising costs, inflation.
I'm literally donating plasma to buy eggs.
And our congressperson does absolutely nothing.
Congressman, stop Elon's war on veterans now.
Stop Elon's war on veterans. There's a lot of positions you don't want to be in as an American politician, but maybe top of that list is do not mess with veterans, right? Vote Vets is running those ads in 5 Republican congressional districts, including Zach Nunn's district in Iowa, also in Nebraska, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and in Virginia. Despite advice from their party that they should not hold town halls, there are a few Republican members of Congress who have been doing it. Whether virtually or face-to-face, these Republican members of Congress have been met with hundreds, and in one case, thousands of angry constituents who are demanding answers.
Well, a Washington congressman faced lots of booing last night as he held a town hall event in Spokane.
I am an attorney that took an oath to support the Constitution. Do it!
A long and loud Tuesday evening for Nebraska Representative Mike Flood in Columbus. What was intended to be an hour-long question and answer turning into questions interlaced with shouting, chanting, and booing from the audience inside Columbus High School.
After voters protested outside of his office earlier this month, Congressmember Kevin Kiley holding a virtual town hall tonight, taking on their concerns.
And get this, 25,000 constituents logged on to this call.
25,000. Trying to run these events on the computer instead of in person has not necessarily limited the demand from voters. For weeks now, town hall after town hall, one question, one topic comes up again and again and again at every single one of these Q&A sessions. And it's one of those issues that, again, you just can't be on the wrong side of in American politics. But Republicans are this year, thanks to Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
All right.
Our next question is from Polly from a 288 zip code area. What are you doing to ensure the protection of our Social Security benefits?
Good question. I really want to know from you, will you protect Social Security in its current form?
Next question, what are your plans to cut Social Security?
I want to be this is a very easy question for me to answer. Any changes to Social Security are not on the table, and I will not cut your Social Security. It is a promise between you and the federal government.
Social Security is a promise between you and the federal government. Congressman Mike Flood doing his best yesterday in Nebraska, and you could hear his constituents reacting. If his constituents are feeling a little insecure about Social Security, there's good reason for that. In addition to Social Security firing thousands of people who work at that agency and announcing plans to shut down dozens of Social Security field offices, the agency now plans to put new requirements in place that will send millions more people to local offices in person, if they can find one, instead of being able to solve things with the administration over the phone. An internal memo from top officials at Social Security says 75,000 to 85,000 more people each week, senior citizens and disabled people, will have to deal with their Social Security benefits in person because of the changes Trump is making. 75,000 to 85,000 more customers in person per week while the agency is shutting down offices and firing their staff. These new rules are no longer just proposals. They are apparently set to take effect March 31st, a week and a half from now. One Democratic member of Congress who is hopping mad about all of this and who just got done with his own town hall tonight joins us here on this next. Stay with us.
Upset stomach? Iberogast. Indigestion? Iberogast. Bloating? Iberogast. Thanks to a unique combination of herbs, Iberogast helps relieve 6 digestive symptoms to help you feel better. 6 digestive symptoms, the power of nature. Iberogast.
So the Ellington has this stunning double pedestal base for just $12.99 every day.
It's on sale at the other store. Wait, it's off sale. No, on sale. Off sale.
Bob's is still hundreds less.
Oh, my mom! Herbal Essences is a force of nature, made with supercharged botanical blends. Our sulfate-free formulas deeply penetrate to boost hair health without the Salon Naturals price tag. Herbal Essences.
As Americans, there's one thing we can all agree on: the promise of our Constitution and the hope that liberty and justice is for all people. But here's the truth. Attacks on our constitutional rights, yours and mine, are greater than they've ever been. The right for all to vote, reproductive rights, the rights of immigrant families, the right to equal justice for Black, brown, and LGBTQ+ folks. The time to act to protect our rights is now. That's why I'm hoping you'll join me today in supporting the American Civil Liberties Union. It's easy to make a difference. Just call or go online now and become an ACLU Guardian of Liberty. All it takes is just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Your monthly support will make you part of the movement to protect the rights of all people, including the fundamental right to vote.
States are passing laws that would suppress the right to vote. We are going backwards.
But the ACLU can't do this important work without the support of people like you. You can help ensure liberty and justice for all and make sure that every vote is counted. So please, call the ACLU now or go to myaclu.org and join us. And when you use your credit card, you'll receive this special We the People t-shirt and much more to show you're a part of the movement to protect the rights guaranteed to all of us by the U.S. Constitution.
We protect everyone's rights. The freedom of religion, the freedom of expression, racial justice, LGBTQ rights, the rights of the disabled. We are here for everyone.
It is more important than ever to take a stand. So please join us today, because We the People means all the people, including you. So call now or go online to myaclu.org to become a Guardian of Liberty.
Someone stole my Social Security number and filed a tax return in my name, and I'm a CPA.
Your tax forms have all the personal information a criminal needs to steal your identity. And in 2024, the IRS flagged nearly 2 million tax returns for possible identity fraud. LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats others could miss. And if your identity is stolen, a U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it, guaranteed. Enroll now.
Tap into Etsy for home and style staples to help you set any vibe. From custom lighting under $150 to vintage jackets under $100. For affordable pieces to help you make a fresh start, Etsy has it.
Most people call leaf filter when their gutters are clogged and they notice one of the many issues that can bring. Well, sometimes it's the smell of mildew when water has seeped into the interior walls, or maybe they've spotted mold in the attic. But most often, it's the more obvious signs of damage, like rotten soffit, fascia, or water pooling near their foundation. You can get ahead of costly damage by protecting your home's gutters today. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help.
Schedule your free gutter inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
Dry eyes still feel gritty, rough, or tired? With MyBo, eyes can feel. MyBo is the only prescription dry eye drop that forms a protective layer for the #1 cause of dry eye, too much tear evaporation. For relief, that's MyBo. Remove contact lenses before using MyBo. Wait at least 30 minutes before putting them back in. Eye redness and blurred vision may occur. Ask your eye doctor about prescription MyBo.
Look at the empty seats here. Where's Elon Musk? If he's so great, if these plans and all the fraud and abuse that he found are so evident, why isn't he here explaining it? You know why. Because he's out to privatize Social Security. He's been on television the last couple of days talking exactly about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and what he intends to do. Privatize it. The American people, some of them may have been born at night, but not last night.
They will teach that clip in freshman orientation for new members of Congress, if there's any justice in the world. The moment when Connecticut Democratic Congressman John Larson pretty much burned down the barn over the issue of Social Security and what Trump and his top campaign donor are doing to it. Since Congressman Larson made that speech last week, Trump's plans for Social Security have come into sharper focus. Yes, they are firing thousands of people who work for Social Security. Yes, they are closing down field offices where people who receive Social Security can go to get help. But now they are making it materially harder for millions of Social Security recipients to get their benefits, forcing millions of retirees and disabled people to travel in person to one of the remaining field offices in order to handle basic transactions with the agency that for decades you could do over the phone. They're apparently going to go ahead with this starting March 31st. Joining us now is Congressman John Larson, Democrat of Connecticut. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate taking the time.
I wonder at that.
Glad to be with you, Rachel, and thank you for your voice.
Well, let me ask you about your voice. You gave a real clarion call in Congress last week. We highlighted that here on the show. I wanted to ask what you are hearing from your constituents. I know you just had a town hall, and I know you got a lot of attention
I did just have
for those
the
remarks.
same thing. There's frustration across the country and in the districts. And most of the time it's individuals saying, look, we don't hear enough from Congress, even though I assure you, and I think you know this, how hard everyone's working, et cetera. But this particular proposal that they had was a resolution that actually started back in the 1799 and was modified in 1879, which provides a check for the legislative branch on the executive branch. The resolution of inquiry requires that they take the bill up within 14 days or the bill goes directly to the floor for a vote. So what the Republicans did was adjourn the Congress on Tuesday night, hold a meeting Monday morning early with little people there, and clearly, as you saw from the clip, no Elon Musk and no head of the Social Security Administration. And the outrage here is what they're doing and the fact that they think that Elon Musk is above the law and that he doesn't have to come before the United States Congress or the Ways and Means Committee. I think my Republican colleagues were embarrassed by this fact, but we're going to keep it up. Rich Neal was in the papers again today calling for another, motion of inquiry so that we get Elon Musk before the committee and demand answers for the American
to do to Social Security. The changes that they are forcing through, that they now say are going to start the last day of this month, seem like they are changes that are designed to cause chaos, designed to cause breakdown, and designed to screw up the basic functions of the agency. To what end? What do you think they're doing?
I think you hit the nail on the head with the hammer there, Rachel, because that's exactly what they're doing. And here's the goal. What they're trying to do is say in the committee that Trump's indicated that he's not going to touch Social Security. And the Republicans continue to repeat, and all Elon Musk is after is fraud, abuse, and waste. Well, if he is, bring it before us, because we'd like to hear it. In fact, bring him before us so we get to see his plan. The plan, unlike previous plans to privatize Social Security, is to scuttle the agencies themselves. Social Security already is trim and it has an administrative operating cost of under 1%. There's no other agency in the federal government that operates like that, or I dare say in the private sector either. I'm from an insurance capital of the world, and their administrative costs are 16 to 26%. So what they're up to is to scuttle the agency, make it appear that it's not working and not answering people's concerns, and then passing legislation that's unpaid for, draining the Social Security Trust Fund. When Trump charges him with finding $2 trillion, everybody's attention should go up when you look at the Social Security Trust Fund, which is $2 trillion 700 billion. And so he's made no bones about it on Larry Kudlow or any other place that they're going to privatize it. And then they deny that in front of the committee and won't bring them in front of the Ways and Means Committee to face the public and to face the questions that Congress has.
Congressman John Larson, Democrat of Connecticut, please come back and talk to us about this. I know you're not going to let it go. Thank you, sir.
I look forward to it, Rachel. Thank you so much.
All right. Of course. We'll be right back.
This Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has wavy edges.
It's no ordinary square. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has wavy perforations that tear so much better, with more cushiony softness. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
If you're shopping for a home, you could browse hundreds of listings, or you could compare home details all at once. Home values to find that hidden bargain. Lot sizes for more room to play. Year built for that mid-century original. And market hotness to buy in the hot neighborhood before it's a hot neighborhood. Search in full color and find the home that has it all. Home search will never be the same again.
When is my allergy spray gonna kick in?
You need Astapro.
Astapro?
It's faster, bro. 8 times faster than Flonase.
It's faster, bro. It's faster, bro.
It's faster, bro.
It's mom to you.
Astapro starts working in 30 minutes. Astapro and go.
Men tell us when they use Just for Men to eliminate gray, there's a great before and after. Then there's the after. That boost you get when you look and feel your best. And that's why more men choose Just for Men.
Here's to getting better with age.
Cheers to beating these two every Thursday.
Help fuel today with Boost High Protein. Complete nutrition you need and the flavor you love. So here's to now. Now available Boost Max.
Life doesn't come with an owner's manual. Freedom is getting to write your own. So get 10% off a Jeep Wrangler or get into a Jeep Grand Cherokee where freedom is on-road or off, where it's a front row seat to the city or a second row seat.
And my night here. Thanks for hanging out with me, Nikki B. I truly appreciate it. If you'd like,
Right
and
now, during the Jeep
subscribe.
Celebration
I play a
event,
lot
get
more than
$2,500
just
total cash
Supermarket
allowance on
Simulator.
2025 Jeep Grand
I
Cherokee
love
models.
to play
See your local Jeep brand dealer
Disney
today.
Dream Like Valley,
The average
7
dog only
Days
lives
to
to be
Die, and
As a
since it was
farmer's
getting
dog,
too
we don't
vanilla
think
for
that's long
me,
enough.
I have
That's why
like
our food comes in personalized
futuristic
portions.
version, a Western
Because a dog in a healthy
version,
weight can live a longer,
extra
happier
challenges version. I really like it.
Help people with asthma breathe better in as little as 2 weeks. So this
I
is
want
better.
everyone to enjoy their evening if they could.
Dupixent is an add-on treatment for specific types of moderate to severe asthma.
I feel the need
It's not
to
for
tell
sudden breathing
everyone.
problems and doesn't replace a rescue inhaler. It's proven to help
God
prevent
bless
asthma
you
attacks.
and
Severe
your
allergic
family.
reactions can occur. Get help right
Peace
away
with
for
you
face,
every day.
mouth, tongue, or throat
Alrighty,
swelling.
bye-bye.